So the working capital was negative. Firefighting, creditors were behind, hand to mouth, should have to pay wages. That was really, really, really bad. So there wasn't enough capital into it. And of course, as I talked about, the whole business, including the owners, were in firefighting mentality. So I figured that first thing we better do is get some money in. Money solves a lot of problems, and actually gives some impetus to start to deal with those other sort of people things that I've talked about. So some new owners came in, scurried around in the market and found a bunch of new owners, good guys. Most of them were out of the forestry industry. Some of you may have heard of a company in Dunedin called Timberlands. They manage and control the Karangarua forest. They took up, that blow up on that partnership with CITIC, was Chinese and Fletchers, went all pear-shaped. These guys came in and set a little management company up and took over the whole thing and kicked Fletchers out. Receivers kicked Fletchers out. So that was those guys. So a few of them were sort of retiring, bless their hearts, younger than me, made their money. And so they were mates. About 5 or 6 of them said, oh, yeah, we've got this. So they came. Went to the bank and said, these guys lined up over here and had my bank there sitting over there. I said, well, this you guys, real tough game to play too, by the way. Well, Mr. Bank, what do you want to do? You can take this much of capital and walk away with it. In other words, write it off, stay with the business at this amount, and these guys will come in on this basis, or you've got a business that's probably going to fall over. I used to be in the solvents partner at KPMG, so I was kind of having a bit of an indication of what they'd look like in a receivership or liquidation. So anyway, we negotiated a big deal. They didn't write it all off, but they wrote some off, and in consultation with these news guys coming in. Put a tightrope to all that sort of thing, but they were superb. They were absolutely superb and quite pragmatic about it. So that's sort of the bank out. And so what we did is we put enough cash into the business to clean up the working capital, got everything back in current, and parked enough money aside, cash aside, to spend on continuing to grow the business. Okay. And overnight, 50% of the firefighting mentality disappeared out of the business, as you can imagine. People started to sleep at night. Over the period, brought in a new management team. Some guys were actually worn out and they needed to go. Some guys were not going to play the new game. And you heard the crowd getting on the bus, getting off the bus, getting on the boat, getting off the boat, all that sort of stuff. Well, they were part of the culture problem. So there were some tough decisions. I kept the CFO who'd been in there, it was good. He'd been there for 3 or 4 years. But I put a new production manager in place just before Christmas, a new operations manager in April, and a new sales and marketing manager in about July and August. So really freshen it up. And I did the normal restructure stuff, all right? Different view, different way of running it, and the back end was a bit sloppy. The systems and processes in this business were solid. The guy that had put it together and kept it together over that period of time was smart. But it was a bit cumbersome in the way it was done. So I took $1 million out of the back end of the business, and I was too slow in doing it. I executed that in July of this year. And hindsight's easy. You do it early, you do things late, make some decisions. And I was probably, in hindsight, I was probably too slow. It's kind of not my style. I probably should have done something maybe in January and February and just set it up for the calendar year. Anyway, and most of that, 80% of that was people. So people that got into a rut. The people that didn't want to bring in the culture and the direction that we wanted to go as a business, we needed to go as a business. It was still there from that 2008, who were part of that, they had to go. And so they got exited. So I'm a bit ruthless, but I had to remove the barriers. I had to remove the culture barriers to let it have its new life. So that's the tough stuff, and no one likes it. I've never met anybody that likes to line up in front of people and shit them. You know, you think about their families and their kids, all that sort of stuff. There will be some of those guys that will think, I need to go and do something different now, but they probably hated my guts. Introduced what I called, and I've got a little thing in the material, I call it customer-centric. It's actually a sort of a personal, I suppose, cultural phraseology that I've grabbed hold of in the last 2 businesses, maybe 3 businesses that I've been involved in. It's before I was with Shearsy Mac, I was 3 years in a company called Satara. It's a public listed company in the kiwifruit industry. And that was a 35-year-old company that was just lazy and sloppy. It was iconic. Had 12% of the whole industry and 25% of the avocado industry. And it was just lazy. When I cleaned that up, I remember seeing a transporter go out the front gate of the yard in Te Puke, filled up with company cars. That was a real shake-up. Not that I knew anything about kiwifruit either. But that was Tara. But it was something that I thought about that they'd lost sight of. They got so obnoxious about being the iconic in the industry so long around. They took all the customers for granted. They treated them like rubbish. So it was a concept I tried with that company and it worked really well. And we kind of figured out pretty quickly who was on the bus and who wasn't on the bus. So I introduced what I call a customer-centric culture. And I dealt with everybody. I talked to everybody what it meant and we reinforced it. And I said, guys, we now have the money, so we don't need to firefight ourselves. We're not going to go broke. So let's get on and make decisions. Okay, everybody. The guy that sweeps the floor in the factory, you make decisions now. Make a decision. And 85% of the time you'll be right. But every decision you make, you have a think about what you're doing and how it's going to improve the customer, our customer. Some of it might be the mate beside you because he's a customer, and some of it might be the person we're doing the work for. I said, if you don't know what to do when you're making a decision, just think about that. And 85% of the time you get it right. And it's okay, the 15% of the time you don't get it right, I'm not going to fire you. This business was run by an autocrat before me, so they were all scared. I said, I'm not going to fire you. It's all right, we'll just fix it. So I started to empower these guys to let them make decisions. Guess what happened? Slowly we saw the pace of the business start to increase. Because decisions were being made, small decisions sometimes, some bigger decisions, and the whole pace started to increase a bit. Actually, people started to feel more relaxed. And pretty simple sort of stuff, isn't it? Messages when you're dealing with, it doesn't matter whether you're dealing with someone in the management team, your business partner, or someone that's sweeping the floor, like I said. Pretty simple business. Sales up, cost down. That's what we want to do. Sales up, cost down. Don't need to try to explain what profit means. Sales up, cost down. Okay? Think about that. One of the things that I've thought about as part of this exercise with my preaching of customer-centric with all the people that I work with and Shearsy Mac is that it's actually quite a difficult concept to understand for some people. Right? Customer-centric. Fancy. It was kind of like too fancy. So I've just started to introduce another word to sit beside it to help them, which is called cooperation. So I want everybody in our business to cooperate with each other and with the customer. So I've just thought about that, and I'm just going to start this bringing in cooperation to help them understand and advance the customer-centric attitude in it. So I'll have to see how that goes. Okay? Cooperation, I reckon, is pretty powerful. And then I did all the theoretical stuff. So I got the money in, started to work with the staff. Actually, went down and talked to them all. Went down, spoke over them. We haven't seen that before. Had a beer with them every month, told them what we're doing, told them what we won, told them what we lost. Wow, sure, so what's happening? Anyway, as simple as it sounds. So then I had to put some discipline across it. So the first thing I did was started a process called 100-day plans. And I know everybody's going to roll their eyes and say, yeah. Anyway, I can tell you, I'm on to number 5. Okay? I've got to start writing number 5 on the 1st of November. Okay? So when I first moved into the company and I didn't have the strategy agreed with the new owners and all that sort of stuff, and the business plan hadn't been, I started with a 100-day plan on some really little stuff. And I showed everybody. Everybody got a copy of it and had some responsibilities. And I said, it's okay, guys, there's some little stuff here, and every month when I met with the staff, I reported against the 100-day plan. So I stood up in front of them and said, remember that 100-day plan? I'm just giving you a report card on how we're going. And there was some really little stuff that we did. And then, of course, we've tick that off, and we've done another lot, we've done another lot. And now I look back and see all the stuff we've done over the last 12 months, which is 400-day plans. We've actually done a hell of a lot. So there's 2 purposes. It made it accountable for the management team to execute, but it let everybody participate and change and feel it and see it. We developed the strategic plan over the normal sort of, I always work between Christmas and New Year, when everyone's away. It's great, actually. I went to sit in the business and it's Tommy thinking and no one's around and I draft up, broke all the rules too. You know, Theory says you're not allowed to write a strategic plan by yourself. You've got to involve everybody. What a load of bloody rubbish. Someone's got to break the back, all right? Otherwise you won't get there, I reckon. Anyway, so I just go and draft something up. So drafting up the strategic plan, drafted up the business plan, and then I started to involve everybody in the process. So at least they had a base document, something for them to start thinking about. Some respects, you've got to coach people along. Directors, I've got 3 directors. They're hopeless. They're hopeless at business plans and strategic plans. They're really the worst strategists in the whole world. So you've got to help them. They'll never write a strategic plan, they expect the management to do it. They want to think about and understand it and use their smarts over the top of it. That's good. Change it, adapt it, rub some of that, and they'll never write. So that's what I did. And then took the management team, we ripped it to bits, put it back, changed some stuff, and then we got together with the directors and did the same exercise. And then what I did, so I got approved by the directors, so that's our plan, that's our business plan, so our strategic plan is 3 to 5 years. And so in your material, the other thing is, in my experience, when you write a strategic plan, you write a business plan, guess what you do? Put it in the drawer, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. The bank says, where's your business plan? Oh, here it is. About that thick, filled up with all this shit. Never going to read it anyway, and you put it in the drawer, done that. So what I've found over my career is the most useful plans are 1 page. 1 page. So the strategic plan format that I use is at a high level. What do you look like now on the left-hand side? The gaps on the bottom, that's what you're trying to close. And on the right-hand side, what do you want your business to look like in 3 to 5 years' time? That's why I go into my little dream world. You know, I get in my helicopter and sit on top of it. What do I think I want this business to look like in 3 to 5 years' time? You can get some measurables in there. You can say, well, I want sales to go from 30 million to 60 million, which is what our strategic plan is over 3 years. So that's a measurable. I think about the quality of the assets. So what does the factory look like, and what do the vehicles look like, and all the physical stuff you see in the business. So it looks like that now. What do I think I want it to look like over there? And I think about the culture and how the people are behaving in the business. Okay? What feels really cool in going into working with people over there? So there's those sorts of things. That's the kind of thinking that I use. So you kind of line up what it looks like now, and you put it over on the right-hand side. And then down the bottom of that, there's actually a few specifics at a high level on what you're actually wanting to achieve over the next 12 months without it being a business plan. And the other page on the back of it, and I'm sorry to go to 2 pages, but most businesses are driven on the top line. All right? Saving costs and driving costs out is easy normally. Start stuff's at the top line. So there's a little bit of focus about getting some thinking right around the top line on that page too. You don't really need it there, but I just like to put a bit of extra strategic focus on the revenue. Right? So a very simple document. So we did that. And then we did the annual plan. You can't do this one until you've done that one, because this has got to chunk things down into 1 year. And again, it's very, very simple to do. Everybody knows what a SWOT analysis is. Everybody in the business, what do we do well? Yeah, stick of axe. What do we do bad? Everybody falls into tears and the boss gets bullied and all that sort of stuff. Horrible, we do this. So all the weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So what I'd like to do is just summarise the main strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats just down on that left-hand side and then the plan. Just so that you've got a bit of... And I do run through a process where you eliminate,